Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Stadhalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Narayanam Gurum Vande Saranyam Bhakta Bandhavam Gauramanovistam Purnam Radhadasyam Pradayakam Rupanugacharya Varyam Rupam Anjari Preshtakam Patita Pavana Karunayam Yugacharya Narayanam Vanchakalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Twise Namaha Shama Sundara Shikanda Shekara Ismera Hasara Murali Manohara Radhikara Sikamam Kripanide Swapriya Charana Kinkarim Kuru Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vrindai Tulasi Devyai Priyai Keshavascha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatyai Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramu Ramo Ramo Hare Hare. So first of all, I begin offering my most humble obeisances to the dust of the lotus feet of Paramardatama Sri Guru Pada Padma, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya, Ashtotara Sata Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudeva, and to my most worshipable Shikshan Sannyasa Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya, Ashtotara Sata Srimad Srila Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Goswami Maharaj, and to all Sri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga, to all Tridandi Sannyasis, Brahmacharis, Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, and to all the assembled devotees here today, my most respectful obeisances. So by the causeless mercy of Srila Gurudeva and all Mahabhagavatas Acharyas, we are able to assemble here one more time. So continue reading from Sri Ramananda Samvada, under the guidance of the Sakhis. The next line of the verse, now Gurudev is discussing, is Braja Kumud Vidho. Here it refers to none other than Shri Krishna, who is just like the moon for the lotus-like gopis of Braja. The word Vidho is given in the possessive case, means Sasti, sixth conjunction indicating a relationship. Here Vidho indicates Shri Krishna's energy known as Ladini. This is confirmed by use of the words Prema Valari, means creeper of love, which signified as the essential principle of this Ladini Shakti. The Sasti is again used for the noun Sakhya Shri Radhikayaha, with reference to the Sakhis of Srimati Radhika. The phrase Kishalaya Dalla Pushpadi Tulyaha describes the gopis, who are like in the new leaves, sprouts, and flowers. Here, Swatulyaha refers to those gopis who look like Srimati Radhika and who are her non-different expansions, Kaya Vyuha Swarupa. Just as the night lotus blossoms naturally upon the rising of the moon, similarly, the residents of Braj, who are like night lotuses, naturally blossom once they obtain darshan of the moon of Braj, Shri Krishna, means Gokula Chandra. That was my brahmachari name also. Of all the Brajavasis, the gopis especially become pleased. Hmm. Thus, Shri Krishna has been called Brajakumuda Vidu, or the moon for the lotuses of Braja. The essence of Shri Krishna's internal potency or pleasure potency is prema. And the vine of this prema is Sri Vrishabhananandini herself, Sri Radha. The various gopis are the newly blossomed sprouts, flowers, and leaves of this vine. These Sakis are the beauty of this wish-fulfilling vine of prema, Sri Radha. Her happiness indeed constitutes the happiness of these gopis. If whatever is supplied to the actual root of the vine, then all of the flowers, leaves, and twigs are also nourished. There is no need to water each part separately. In a similar manner, all of the other gopis who are compared to the leaves, sprouts, and flowers automatically reap supreme satisfaction from Sri Radha's happiness. I think this is clear and simple, right? I think no need any comment. The next verse or verses, which is also Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bengali version. He's saying, although the Sakis do not possess even the slightest desire to enjoy themselves with Sri Krishna directly, still Radhika makes an active effort that enables them to meet with him. She sends the gopis to Krishna, employing a great variety of clever ruses, as well as inspiring his heart with a desire to meet them. At such times, she enjoys a happiness 10 million times greater than the happiness she experiences when directly meeting with him. Since the internal consciousness of Sri Radhika and the gopis is pervaded by Vishuddha Sattva, or pure spiritual existence, Srimati Radhika always remains engaged in continuously bestowing happiness upon the gopis, and vice versa. So what is saying here? That Srimati Radhika, she will arrange for Krishna to meet with the gopis. Why? Because she knows that he will like it. So for the pleasure of Krishna, Srimati Radhika, she is arranging for the meeting of Krishna and the other gopis. And then it says, here she enjoys a happiness 10 million times greater than the happiness she experiences when directly meeting with him. Means through the gopis, she enjoys a greater pleasure. In the same way, it says afterwards, the gopis also enjoy a million times more when is through Srimati Radhika than when they are directly with Krishna. Is it clear? I think so, huh? No problem, huh? So, it means both Radhika and other gopis, they derive more pleasure when they are meeting through each other. Radhika through the gopis and gopis through Srimati Radhika. Okay? They are ever absorbed in nourishing or expanding sentiments of rasa. Upon seeing their mutual exchanges, Shri Krishna becomes most satisfied. The prema of the gopis is completely natural. There is not even the slightest scent of profane lust within them, due to its resembling mundane lusty affairs. This prema is often called kam or lust. Even though the kam of the gopis and the kama of this material world bear a resemblance to each other, factually the difference between them is like that of heaven and hell. In this aprakrita kam, means transcendental lust, there is not even a trace of desire for one's own happiness. Rather, the sole desire is an abiding, continuous thirst to bestow happiness upon one's beloved. Thus, this kama is vishuddha, transcendentally pure, prema. The karma of the material world is self-centered, performed for one's own enjoyment, insignificant, detestable, and the path to hell. One verse explains that. Atmendriya prittivancha tare bole kam, Krishnendriya prittivancha bole premana. Means, lust means when you want to satisfy your own senses, and prema means when you want to satisfy Krishna's senses. So gopis are always endeavoring to satisfy Krishna's senses, not their own senses. So in this way, gopis have prema, not kam. And it's very interesting to note one thing. Here it says that kama and prema, they resemble like each other. But they have a great difference. From a couple of days ago till now, I was meditating on these things. Like here in our material world, we will try to always control our senses and withdraw our senses from the sense objects, not trying to enjoy them, right? Any type of enjoyment through the senses become an obstacle, for our bhakti. So, but when you come to the spiritual reality, everything goes back to the senses again. And everything is described based on sense perception. How beautiful is that flower? How beautiful is the gopis? How good smell have, this sandalwood with kasturi, and how soft, is the breast of the gopis or the sand of Vrindavan, and how much, how much sweet is the flute sound of Krishna, and the buzzing of the bees is speaking like the like the Vedic hymns. So all the senses, they are actually being like the vehicle for the spiritual reality, the transcendental senses. But for us, as sadhakas in the material world, we have to withdraw our senses. But in the spiritual reality, we have to apply our senses. That's the difference, right? So, therefore, we say that senses and mind are not useless, as so many yogis, Buddhists, tapasvis, they may propagate. Senses are very important because without senses, there is no relationship. There's no relationship with anything, with the material world, with any person, and also with God. So what is the use of having senses? It's because they are in the original reality, senses are being used as a basis of Samvada. But when it comes here with the perverted reflection of that reality, it becomes detrimental. It becomes somehow an obstacle when misused. But the thing is, we should not eliminate our senses, but we should rather engage our senses in Krishna service. That's the difference between us and them. We want to, what to say, how to say that in English? Sublimize, I don't know if that, when make something sublime, in the sense, transcend, what we can say like transcending. We have to transcend our senses, in the sense that we have to make them spiritual. This is our goal, to make our senses vishuddha, as it's being mentioned here. But for other categories of seekers of spirituality or the truth, they will try to eliminate completely the senses and punish the senses, in the sense that they will say we have to cut the mind, cut the senses, we have to become just like completely what? Only this consciousness. But for us, this is not the way. Our yoga is through the senses. How? Tasting prasadam, smelling the fragrant incense offered to Krishna, touching the transcendental body of the Vaishnavas, otherwise, hearing the sound of the kirtan. So we should engage our senses in Krishna service. That's the way we can come to some, very close to that transcendental reality. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Sri Radhika engages the Sakis in the service of Sri Krishna, and the Sakis find happiness in arranging for her, Radhika, to meet with him. People devoid of ras and intelligence say that Sri Radha and the gopis desire to meet with Sri Krishna. Is this a form of material lust in which they are seeking for their own enjoyment or not? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, no, it is not. Factually, intimately meeting with Sri Krishna or arranging for Sri Krishna to meet with others is performed only out of love for him. Seeing Sri Krishna's pleasure, the gopis also feel happiness, and they think that their lives have become successful. Be engaged in his service. The people of this material world cannot conceive of even a shadow of this prema, what to speak of approach it. Thus, due to their polluted tendencies, people see this completely pure and sacred prema to be the same as insignificant, profane lust. Now, Prema Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, 285-86. Premeva Goparamanam Kamaiti Agamat Pratam Iti Udavadayo Piyatam Vachanti Bhagavata Priya. The prema of the beautiful maidens of Braj is known as kama or lust. However, by constitution, that prema has no mundane lust in its makeup. It is for this reason that Uddhav and other devotees of the Lord also desire this prema. So this is a very good way to prove that what gopis are feeling is not real mundane lust. Why? Because great sages are also seeking for that type of love and have gopis as their, guides. Uddhav, very respected in society, Krishna's prime minister, highly educated, follows everything properly, varnashram, dharma rules, everything. Even Brahma, Bhishma, Narada, and so many other great personalities. They always seek for shelter of gopis' lotus feet. So that proves that when you follow the footsteps of gopis, you're not going to develop any mundane lust or attachment. Actually, you are going to become free from them. Although both iron and gold are categorized as metals, there is an enormous difference between them. Likewise, both material lust and pure love appear somewhat similar, but they are in fact totally distinct. Lust is a function of the illusory potency known as Maya, while prema is a function of the all-spiritual Swarupa Shakti. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur further says that there are various alluring desires presented in the Vedic scriptures, such as the desire for elevation to high worlds, the desire for progeny, especially sons, and the desire for material wealth and opulence. These material desires give rise to worldly religiosity, the religious principles enunciated in the Vedas, the pursuance of religious principles according to one's birth and body, desires for self-happiness in the form of mukti or liberation, adherence to the path of elevated society, the maintenance of affection for one's family members, performance of fruitive actions, womanly shyness, patience, chastisement from family members and friends, and fear. All of these are self-seeking behaviors and forms of self-indulgence, performed for one's own sense enjoyment and to fulfill one's own desires. They are all material and performed for one's personal pleasure and success. There's a difference of heaven and hell between prema and kama. The kama of the gopis is beyond material intelligence. So there's a footnote here which says, quotes a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adilila 4, 167, 169, which gives the evidence for that. And it says, the gopis have completely abandoned worldly social conventions, the injunctions of the Vedas, the demands of the body, the performance of work with the desire for fruits, shyness, forbearance, bodily pleasures, personal satisfaction, and the path of Varnashram Dharma, all of which are difficult to give up. They have forsaken their families and suffered punishment and admonishment from their relatives, all so that they can serve Shri Krishna. Indeed, only for his happiness do they serve him with great love. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that the tendency to perform the topmost service to Shri Krishna, who is himself the very embodiment of pure and complete spiritual knowledge, Samvit Vigraha, can never be said to be calm or mundane lust. Rather, abandoning Shri Krishna's happiness to pursue other forms of enjoyment is called calm. May one's life be dedicated to Shri Krishna, and may the service performed to him be premamai, or loving service. Then Shri Krishna may be pleased. The Sakis are entirely composed of these selfless desires, which are present within them to an unrestricted extent. And these gopis, who are the embodiment of prema, remains committed to eagerly serve in this manner. So then Gurudev is quoting a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 31, 19. Jate sujata charanam buruham staneshu dita shane priyadadi mahikar kasheshu te natavim matasitadivyate nakim swit kurpadi vir brahmatidhir bhava ayushanna. The gopis afflicted by feelings of separation from Shri Krishna lament, your divine feet, even softer than the lotus, we place upon our hard breasts, very timidly and very carefully, lest we hurt them. Those same soft lotus feet carry you through the dark forest. Are they feeling any pain, being wounded by pebbles and stones? Simply the thought of this sets our heads spinning, causing us to fall in a swoon. O Shri Krishna, O Shyamasundar, O Prananatha, O Professor of our lives, we live only for your sake. We are yours. We are yours. So the Jiva Goswami Pada explains that after this, the gopis began crying very loudly. They then became senseless and fell upon the ground. In this way, simply by the mere thought of the slightest pain to their beloved, the gopis fell unconscious, whereupon Shri Krishna appeared amongst them. This is like the last verse of Gopi Gita. Thus seeing their Pran Vallabha, their dear most beloved, Sri Shyam Sundar, whose beauty defeats that of millions upon millions of cupids, the Braja Gopis again took possession of their life heirs, which returned to their bodies. Altogether, they stood up, and with loving glances from their blossoming eyes, they looked towards him in a mood of great happiness. Now they are quoting this very beautiful verse here, which says, Shri Gopi Bhav Amrit Jaralo Hoy, Vedadhar Maloka Tyaji, Shri Krishna Bhajai. Raganuga Marge Tana Bhaje Jai Jan, Say Jana Pai Braje, Brajendra Nandan. Brajalo Kera Kono Bhava Lonna Jai Bhaje, Bhava Jogya Deha Pana, Krishna Paya Bhaje. Tahate Drishtanta Upanishad Shrutigan, Raga Marge Bhaji Pailo, Brajendra Nandan. One who has developed greed to attain the Gopi's nectarian prema completely abandons the regulative principles of Vedic life, such as the Varnashram system, as well as various materialistic goals, such as attaining residence in the heavenly planets. Rather, the devotee completely surrenders unto Sri Krishna and performs exclusive bhajan to him. Those devotees who are inclined towards the path of Raganuga Bhakti, or spontaneous devotional service, adopt the sentiment of Anugatya, or remaining under guidance of superiors. They perform service to Sri Krishna, and in the holy abode of Shri Vrindavan, they attain Sri Brajendra Nandana Sri Krishna. However, whoever accepts one of the moods of the various eternal associates of Brajamandala and performs bhajan, following their moods of service to Sri Krishna, after receiving an appropriate spiritual body, Siddhadeha, achieves the service of Sri Krishna in Braj. The Upanishads and the Shrutis serve as testimony to those who achieve the service of Sri Brajendra Nandan by doing bhajan in the mood of Rag Marga. So it means that if you want to become a gopi, you have to be able to give up all the traditions, all the etiquette, all the relations of this Varnashram Dharma, all the rules of the Vedas, everything, and surrender to Krishna. Why? Because Krishna is going to do things which are beyond these rules and regulations and things like that. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the 64 limbs of bhakti are especially pertinent in Vaidhi bhakti. By performing these limbs of devotion with pure faith or shraddha, one receives the qualification to enter into bhakti. Sometimes, however, after appreciating the loving service combined with the natural anurag or deep attraction that the residents of Braj feel towards Shri Krishna, a great may awaken in the hearts of some extremely fortunate persons to also achieve the same loving service towards Shri Krishna that the residents of Braja have, and they will become fully dedicated to attaining that desire. This is the path of Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti means to have greed. This is the key word for Raganuga. Never forget it. This is called greed, lobha. So the verse is saying? The verse says, Shri Gopi Bhavam Rita Jara Lobha. If you have lobha for that Gopi Bhavam Rita, for the nectar of the Gopi Bhav, then what will happen? Loka Dharma Veda Tyaji, Shri Krishna Bhajai. You give up Tyaji, what? Veda, Loka, Dharma. Loka means relatives, mundane authorities, friendships, whatever relationships you have. Veda, all the injunctions of the Vedas. Then Dharma, all the Dharmas, Varnashram Dharmas, etc. And then what you do? You'll be worshipping only Krishna. Like that. So greed to attain the nectarian moods of the Braja Gopis bestow the qualification to enter the path of Raganuga Bhakti. What does it say here? The qualification to enter Raganuga Bhakti is greed, not anything else. Oh, but I'm very good in memorizing shlokas. Oh, I'm very good in performing austerities, fasting on Ekadashi, 3 days in a row. I'm very good in playing and singing. Okay, that's fine. but that's not going to grant you entrance in Raganuga Bhakti. And sometimes you see a very simple and shy devotee who is not able to perform any artistic thing, or there is no any talent visible in him, but how much greed he's having in his heart, who knows? So that eligibility is there for Raganuga Bhakti. So after entering the path of spontaneous devotion, Rag Marga, and then performing this bhajan, attachment for the path of Vedic principles, such as the following of Varnashram, is automatically and easily dispelled. Within the realm of Braj are Shri Krishna's servants, Raktaka and Patraka, his friends Sridhama and Subala, his parents Nanda and Jashoda. They naturally serve him according to their particular moods. Although one may have great enthusiasm to perform this Brajarasa Bhajan, means devotional service in the meadow of Braj, still one will have a special greed for a particular rasa. And it is in accordance with that particular greed that one will receive a completely spiritual body that is also compatible to one's mood. In this way, at the time of attaining perfection, one achieves Shri Krishna. The Upanishads and the Shrutis give evidence of this. The Shrutis have expounded that one can attain the qualification to perform bhajan of Brajendra Nandana Shri Krishna in Braj without being under the guidance of the Braja Gopis. You mean it says it cannot. One cannot attain qualification to worship Brajendra Nandana in Vrindavan without the guidance of Braja Gopis. In this consideration, the Shrutis too accepted the supervision of the Braja Gopis by following the path of Rag Bhakti in their spiritual forms as Gopis. The Shrutis served Brajendra Nandana Shri Krishna. So the proof is that the Shrutis themselves, they became Gopis. The Shruticharis and the Upanishadicharis and so many others, they themselves, they became Gopis. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that one should take shelter of the lotus feet of the Brajarasa Rasika Vaishnavas, who are expert in tasting the ras of Braja. Accepting both initiation, diksha, and instructions, shiksha from such personalities, one should reside in Vrindavan under their guidance. And therefore, bhajan, according to the principles of Raganuga Bhakti, additionally in one's, and perform bhajan according to the principles of Raganuga Bhakti. Additionally, in one's bhajan, one should follow the guidance of a specific, eternally perfected associate of Shri Krishna. Thus, one should perform Manasi Seva, service performed in the mind. More precisely, by serving internally with one's eternally perfect spiritual body, Siddhadeha, one should thus follow the associates of Shri Krishna, such as Shri Radha, Lalita, Vishaka, Rupa, Manjari. One should also serve as a sadhaka by one's physical body, following the example set by devotees such as Shri Rupa, Sanatana, and other residents of Vrindavan. So what is that verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? Seva sadhaka rupenna siddha rupenna chatrihi tadbhava lipsna karja brajaloka anusarata. In other words, Gurudev is saying this here. What does it mean? Seva sadhaka rupenna. When you are entering in the path of Raganuga Bhakti with your awakened Swarup, you have to perform service in two ways. Through your Swarupa, through your Siddhadeha, which is in Nitya Lila, and Second one is perform service still with your sadhaka body, because we are still in the material world. And then what is that type of service? As Rupa Goswami did, Raghunatha Das Goswami did, and all like that. We should follow their footsteps. They are in this category which we are describing right now. Although they are, Nityasiddha Parikaras, they are not real sadhakas, but they are playing the role of a sadhakas which have awakened their swarup, and they are therefore serving in that both realms. Okay? It's also a very key shloka. In whole Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we have three key shlokas, which are very important to learn, to understand the subtleties and the process of Raganuga Bhakti. One is this one that I mentioned. The other one is Shravanadi Kirtanadini Vaidya Bhakti Tanitu Yanyangani Chatrani Tatra Vigayani Manisivi. And then the other one is Krishna's Maram Janam Chasa Nija Preshta Samhitam Tatat Katara Saschaso Puryadvasam Braje Sada. It says that we have to have greed for hearing those pastimes of the eternal residents of Braja. Krishna's Maram Janam Chasa Nija Preshta Samhitam. Nija Preshta. Krishna, very, very dear associates like Radha, Lalita, Vishaka, Sudama, Sridam, Subal. Tatat Katara Saschaso Kuryad Vasam Braje Sada. Always reside in Braj. We should always hear the pastimes of how these associates are serving Krishna. And we will feel inspiration for one of them. So we have to cultivate our mood by hearing again and again the pastimes performed by these associates in the same mood that we want also to serve. So the way to stimulate is how? Shravanadi Kirtanadini Vaidya Bhakti Uditanitu Yanyangani Satarni Tatavigani Manisivi. It says that although we perform some limbs of bhakti like Shravana, Kirtana, and others, as in Vaidya Bhakti is prescribed, we are not actually practicing Vaidya Bhakti. We are practicing Vaidya Pravritti Marga, a special type of Vaidya Bhakti which leads to Raganuga Bhakti. Because if we follow Shuddha Vaidya Bhakti, pure Vaidya Bhakti, we will never go to Goloka Vrindavan. We will go to Dwaraka, Ayodhya, Vaikuntha, but not to the Goloka Vrindavan. Goloka Vrindavan only through Raganuga Bhakti. So this is the key verses for understanding Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, very important to learn these things. This is the bhajana path, the path for bhajan in Rupanuga line, the line of Rupa Goswami path. Okay, so there is still a lot to go on this chapter. Let us stop here and then continue next time. Okay, Hare Krishna.